So behind me is a customer comeback. Didn't even last a day. So this is a computer that I built. The guy wanted it real cheap, i5 10400, 16 gigs of DDR4, 500 gig M.2, got a cheap power supply, a cheap case, and I popped in a GTX 980. Not this one, the one that's still in there. He brought it home, his kids started playing with it, and not even a couple of hours, I would say, the computer just didn't show a screen no more. He said he restarted it, no screen. It turns on, but no screen. It's like, great. So of course, say, hey, bring it back, I'll take a look at it. I have my suspicions on what it is, and it's just because of my history with these cards. I think it's the graphics card. So it has a EVGA 980, and if you watch one of my previous videos, I had one just go poof and smoke in the garage. Not a good feeling, a little bit scary. But the reason why I think it's the card, not just because that one went up in smoke, was because I've had 4 others in the garage go up in smoke. This one is the one that just decided to, donate the blue smoke. This one is another EVGA card that also decided that, well, it didn't go up in smoke, but it just had no display on it. And this one, just no power, no life to it. I have one on the wall, which you can't see up there. That one decided to go up in smoke. That was one of my earlier videos. And then I had a 980 Ti, I wanna say this was about 4 years ago, that a customer actually went out and bought used. He tested it, I tested it, it worked great. And then like a week later, he brings it into the garage and said, dude, I think I smell something burned. Brought it into the garage. Unfortunately, I didn't get to record that video, but that one also, burned. I don't know what it is with these EVGA 9 series cards. It's only 9 series cards that I've had that has caused me these issues. I have EVGA cards still in the box over there. I got a 1080 Ti, 5 series. I think I have a 6 series, 760, 780 EVGA cards. They run fantastic. Never had issues with them. I've dealt with 20 series, 30 series. No issues with them, but it's always been a 9 series EVGA card that I've had issues with. And the reason why I say EVGA is because looking back at a lot of the logs that I have of cards that I've bought, computers that I've built and sold, I've had Asus, PNY, Gigabyte, and those cards are still running fine to this day on customer builds. But these EVGA ones, I don't get it. So I think that's my suspicion with this one. Let's dive into it and let's see what happened. I could be wrong. So let's just double check and make sure. I've already turned it on and it keeps doing the same thing, just no screen on it. So let's power it up. Oop, did I flick the switch? I think I did. Yeah, nothing. So I'm gonna start there. I'm sure I could do a more thorough diagnosis, but considering my history with these cards, I'm fairly confident that could be the issue. I could be wrong. So let's take it out. Let's shut you down. Take out a screwdriver, unplug everything, all the normal stuff. Well, is it really normal if a computer's coming in the garage and breaking? That's not a good normal. So this comes out. And I apologize for the noise in the background. I actually recorded a video like this a while back, and somebody says, what, you fix your computers while somebody's taking a shower? No, I'm in the garage, it's raining. So yeah, you can hear all the wonderful rain noise. It's kind of peaceful. I enjoy it. All right, let's unplug you. Plug you. And hit this out just like so. Let's give it the smell test. I don't smell burnt or anything. The card looks fine. I don't know. So we're gonna use another 980. It is not an EVGA, although it does have an EVGA cooler on it. This is actually a PNY one, and I've used PNY cards. I've never had issues with them. Well, as far as like the 9 series and stuff like that. So I know this one worked the last time I put it in. So if this doesn't work, then I'm fairly confident we have a different issue. But I'm really thinking that that EVGA card just gave up. See what happens. Well, this was unexpected. That's a PNY card. That should be working. Huh. Okay, so I assumed. I'm wrong. I'm sorry, EVGA. I was wrong. Still, I've had 4 of your cards, do the whole blue smoke thing on me. So now, what is wrong with this computer? All right, just to rule out that this one also didn't go bad, let's pop in one that I do know. It's always been faithful. My GT 1030. Where are you at? Where are you at? And that will kind of help me also rule out if the power supply is maybe giving me an issue. I mean, maybe it's not giving me enough juice, but it worked fine. So before I sent this computer out, I always game on every computer I build. I always game on it at least 30 to 45 minutes. Give it a good shakedown. And this thing held fine. The wattage was way below 500, so not sure about that. Well, that was not to be expected, but it did this. The system BIOS is being updated. The update will take a few minutes to complete. So was this potentially doing an update and then the computer shut down and maybe this was happened? Could have bricked the BIOS. Huh. Alright, so I'm going to let this thing finish, do what it's got to do, and we'll see if it boots into Windows. If it boots into Windows, we'll pop in both these cards, and then I was completely wrong, and hopefully I didn't look too foolish on this video. So, we'll see. So a short while later, and we're back up and running. This thing seems to be okay. So I haven't stress tested or done anything, but it's booted. We got a display. Obviously, we're using the GT 1030, so I think what's next, let's pop in this 980 and see what happens. This could have been as simple as this thing was trying to update the BIOS through a Windows update, which is weird. I've never seen that. That might be a thing. I don't know. But then again, I really don't deal a ton with these HPs enough to see that, or at least the newer ones. So that's kind of new to me too. So let's go ahead and shut it down. Flick the power, plug this off. Take my little buddy out. Love this guy. Love this guy. Folks, if you're looking for a graphics card that's like never fails, always reliable, maybe it's just me or the one I got, get yourself a GT 1030. I use that for testing everything. Anytime I have a suspicious graphics card or anything like that, that's always my go-to. And she never lets me down. Now, you might not get the, the greatest FPSs and all that type of good stuff. Definitely doesn't have RGB, so we know how that goes. But the card is reliable. And I have 2 of them. I have 2 different ones. I have an MSI, I think that's a Zotac. No, Asus. So I got an MSI and I got an Asus. And they've both been great for testing. All right. Plugged in, you're sitting how you're supposed to be. Fire it up. Hit the power button. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's working. So this might have just been an issue that the BIOS was trying to update and just something happens, and while he was doing that, the screen flickered. Maybe they turned it off, and that's what caused all these issues. So before I kick this thing back, let's run a stress test. Make sure this 980 is still good to go, and then we'll take it from there. So off camera, I went ahead and completed all the updates, made sure everything was good to go, and I figure I fire up the game Fortnite. I reached out to the customer, and he told me that they were playing Fortnite when this happened. So the GPU is working fine, 68 degrees Celsius. I've been playing this on and off for about an hour. I really want to make sure this thing doesn't come back and make sure it was not a GPU issue. I was wrong on that. I assumed, I'll admit it, and I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. But so far, everything's working great. I've been playing this. I've checked all the updates. I've done stress tests on it. So I'm fairly confident it was a BIOS issue. So I'm good with it. Let's go ahead, let's wrap this up and get this thing back to our customer. So what happened? Not 100% sure. Got my suspicions. I think that the computer was doing a Windows update. There was probably a firmware or update that happened through HP through the Windows update. I reached out to the customer and I asked them exactly what happened when it was doing this. What were they doing? They said they were, the kid was playing a game of Fortnite. The screen started flickering and then it froze. And what he went ahead and did was turn the computer off. If it was potentially downloading or starting a BIOS update, turning it off could definitely cause an issue. Maybe it got corrupted, the BIOS got corrupted, and that's what kind of stopped this thing from doing what it was supposed to be doing, and now we end up with a no video. Now, as far as putting in the GT 1030 and we wound up with a screen, I just think that was a lucky coincidence. Probably after rebooting it several times, it actually came back around, started finishing up the updates with the GT 1030, and it came back to life. So if this was a BIOS update that was happening, we lucked out, because if you turn off the computer during that, you could end up bricking your BIOS and just end up totaling your motherboard. So I think we lucked out on that, and I'm pretty sure that is exactly what happened. So I'm glad everything is done, updates, all that type of good stuff. Everything is working perfectly. Could get this back to them and they should be good to go for a while. As far as my initial assessment, yes, like I said, I assumed it was the graphics cards, but I mean, that was probably the easiest way to start, was just going ahead and just seeing, you know, if the graphics card was bad. But I popped another 980, did the same thing, then the GT 1030 came back around. So, I mean, it was part of the diagnostic that, you know, I would have normally done. And then if it didn't work from there, we would have just tried, number one, reseating the memory, testing the memory, and then just going, you know, part by part by part. But I'm glad this was simple. I'm glad it was easy, and I'm very glad that it wasn't a graphics card. So comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, concerns, criticism. Has you ever seen that happen with a BIOS update through Windows? That's what I'm assuming what happened. What are your experiences with EVGA graphics cards? Have you ever had the issue that I've had with 9 series? And would you still trust this graphics card considering bad experiences? If you like this video, definitely hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, and as always, we'll see what we come up with next.